Hello and welcome to another episode of the FemiNinja Project. And thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. And I have a fantastic guest with me today. His name is Dr. Stephan Neff, and he is passionate about demystifying mental health problems and helping people live a life so full of joy that yesterday is jealous of today. He's an anesthesiologist, a best-selling author, and an advocate for mental health and addiction. He has a fantastic YouTube channel. He's got his own podcast, and his book is titled My Steps to Sobriety. He's going to share his story with us. So, Stephan, thank you for being here and welcome to the show. It's an honor.
Oh, no, the honor is all mine. Definitely, definitely. And I just have to say it. I have to say it. I'm so excited to be on a show where my guest has got weapons all around her. I love
Yeah.
it. I love it. You are the ninja. You are the FemiNinja. And
The FemiNinja, yep.
that is so cool to see. You are going out there and providing a platform to give hope and to empower people, and this is so beautiful. So I'm absolutely blessed to be on your show today. So let's make this happen.
Okay, well, I have to tell you first that what you see in front of you, this is my ninja disguise.
It works very well.
Thank
You look
you. Thank you.
like sort of, very civilized and very oh, but yeah, you look beautiful.
Oh,
You
thank
don't look
you.
like the ninja, and that is the perfect thing, isn't it? And
Yes. Yes. And the female ninja, that's part of the secret of the female ninja is that you wouldn't expect them to know some of the things or to be able to do some of the things they do. It's, they hide behind this facade of their, femininity, and they're delicate and, yeah. And they're pretty deadly too. So, Stephan, tell us your story. I mean, you're an anesthesiologist. You're actually born in Germany. And then you were trained, I think, in Switzerland. I'm not sure if I have all the details right. So why don't you just tell us the story?
Oh, well done, you. You certainly did some digging there, didn't you?
I
That
did.
I
And it was pretty
Joe.
fast too.
Oh, Joel, thank you so much for having me on. Yes, I'm a doctor. I was born in the 60s in Germany and lived, more a poorer life. We were not rich and hardworking family, which means latchkey child. I think that
Hmm.
is the English word for it.
Hmm.
So it was sort of a mediocre youth, to say the least. But then I ended up, unfortunately, in the wrong place, wrong time, with a gang assault, and me being the victim. So that was
Oh.
when I was 13, and that was the turning point, really, in my life. So my wounds had barely healed when I found myself in a dojo, starting my journey as a martial artist, but not as an artist, but rather with the view of never being in the same role again, that as a victim, that of a person lying down looking at his front teeth, which are on the pavement, things like that. So
Mm.
I became, from an innocent early teenager, I
Hmm.
changed quickly into Rambo. And that already tells you that there was a hell of a lot of PTSD going on that at
Yeah.
that time was not recognized.
Yeah.
So I ended up at school, and then after school straight into martial arts,
Hmm.
training long, hard hours. And it was a very dark life for the next 5 years. So
Hmm.
I became very, very good and very, I was proud of myself as a martial artist. But as a man and as a growing human, my goodness, I was broken.
Hmm.
And guess what? After 5 years of hypervigilance, etc., I went to university and then suddenly found alcohol and found women. And I also realized that I had brought the gang leader behind bars. He swore death to me, but I realized he will never ever find me. So I could take a little bit I could stop training as hard And
Mhm.
suddenly I realized when I had a certain amount of alcohol to drink, my shoulders relaxed and I did no longer have to look around. I did no longer
Mhm.
was constantly on the go, and it was beautiful. So
Mhm.
alcohol became a really good friend, and it sort of rescued me a little bit from the
Mhm.
darkness that was in myself. So initially, as so with so many ways of escaping reality, it serves a purpose, and
Mhm.
it certainly did with me. I will
Mhm.
never forget the first time that I had this kind of dopamine rush coming through. It was beautiful. It was summer. I was sitting with two good friends in a beer garden under a huge oak, and it was beautiful, sunny. And I had this
Mhm.
this Stein is sort of a liter of beer, and sort of at the end of that liter, we were laughing, and I had this feeling of love, of ah, and that was wonderful. So
Mhm.
okay, so you've got darkness, and then
Mhm.
suddenly the light. Guess what your
Mhm.
brain does? It says,
Mhm.
"Yeah, I want more. I want more." And I had never learned other techniques of getting that calmness. Although we did some meditation as part of the dojo, as part
Mhm.
of our training, um, it was nowhere close to any of the feelings that I got from alcohol, and
Mhm.
in all fairness, from work. I
Mhm.
became, in due course, I became a workaholic and an alcoholic because I
Mhm.
was still escaping my reality. I was still
Mhm.
escaping my emotions. So, but having said that, when you're a doctor, it becomes quite handy if you're hypervigilant because you
Mhm.
don't get caught out. You get
Mhm.
very good in very chaotic scenes. So I became very good in trauma management. Put me in
Mhm.
an ED with blood and gore and everything, and
Mhm.
I would walk in, I would bring calmness in there. However messy my head was, I was able to work with a team very effectively and became then a teacher for other doctors how to deal with various dramatic and traumatic
Mhm.
scenarios. So this was my life, and I was feeding from it. Yeah, because I was in control. I was no
Mhm.
longer the victim. I put
Mhm.
myself into positions where I was in control. So you get already this kind of focus on I need to be always in control. I need to be the best. My core beliefs were pretty warped by then. I had
Mhm.
transformed into Rambo, and a man is a real man. A man is,
Mhm.
all these kind of, you get the idea of the macho bullshit that was going on in my head. And honestly, I had never learned to deal with emotions. So I was always chasing the high, equally in
Mhm.
relationships. I was
Mhm.
chasing the girls, and I became quite good in that. Um, and I was able to create the most perfect relationship. Absolutely, the girls loved it for about
Mhm.
4 weeks, 8 weeks, and then I got bored and moved on because
Mm.
then when the reality came, when the dopamine rush went, oh no, 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 can't have that. I need more dopamine. So come on, more alcohol, more whatever it was. And
Mhm.
so I was chasing, with hindsight, I was chasing serenity, and
Mhm.
I didn't know it. And it
Mhm.
is I used alcohol for far too long. And I
Mhm.
whilst there are very few self-help books that I have not read over my life. It was typically with a glass of wine in my hand,
Uh-huh.
and that I read them, and I thought, oh yeah, I must do that one day. That's about as far as it went, as far as self-help was concerned.
Mhm.
Now I was blessed because as part of the martial arts, as part of the jiu-jitsu, I had learned proper deep breathing. So I was
Mhm.
able to use breathing exercises to actually at least switch off the anxiety to a
Mhm.
certain degree, but nowhere close to my abilities nowadays.
Mhm.
Um, so it was a very messed up time. And I think that messed up time went on for far too long.
I do have a question regarding,
But
like you were saying, that you didn't deal with your emotions. You were able just to not, you either push them away or just not deal with them at all. And I have to think about, because I was in medicine for quite a few years myself, and in those situations, those emergency rooms, or when things are really falling apart, to be able to function and be effective, as a physician, you kind of have to put your own feelings aside to be able to
Absolutely.
do that. I mean, and I know that a lot of physicians and other people who do work in healthcare, after a while, I mean, we get so good at it that when, the emotions come up, it's like, what is this strange sensation? And I don't want to deal with this. And how do I run away from it? So in the
Perfectly put.
moment, in the moment, in the emergency situation, you don't want your medical team bawling and crying and, falling apart. You want them to be able to do their job. But on the
Exactly.
other hand, when it's over, you have to walk out of that room and then
Mm,
face more patients. So you really never even have that time to
mm.
assimilate and integrate what just happened to you.
Yeah.
It's almost like it's dehumanizing in a way that we have to function almost like robots.
Correct. Correct. And that is a journey for us doctors to address in our own right. The welfare of anesthetists, the welfare of doctors in general
Mhm.
terms. That is only something that really in the last 10 years has become a bit more of a research focus. And in all fairness, a focus at all within our profession. Prior
Mhm.
to that, there was still the
Mhm.
generation before us. I work 69 hours a week, so yes, of course I expect that from you. There was a nice survey that amongst
Yeah.
cardiac anesthetists, and who was sort of calculating their hours, and one reached 96 hours. He was working 96 hours a week.
Ah.
And he was asked, well, what do you think about it? And he said, yeah, of course. I've done it all my life, and I expect my juniors to be exactly that. So it's that kind of an attitude, unfortunately,
Mhm.
that I was brought up in, and many other Americans and throughout the
Mhm.
world. We are brought up with this work ethic.
Mhm.
Idle hands do the devil's work, that kind
Mhm.
of bullshit. If you're religious, it is no, it is we have not taught a work-life balance.
Mhm.
I know very few people who, from my mentors in my work, that were modeling that. Very
Mhm.
few. And then when finally sort of a different generation of anesthetists came through, when I was sort of in my middle career, and who were saying, no, actually, I'm here. I specifically came to Rotorua for the mountain biking, and we are very active here in our sports. And I thought, who are you? And you're not a proper doctor. A doctor needs to be there for his patients all the time. It was that bullshit. My God. Core beliefs
Mhm.
warped to the nth degree.
Mhm.
They became my biggest enemy. My own
Mhm.
belief systems, my own driving forces that were laid
Mhm.
down when I was a child,
Mhm.
for crying out
Mhm.
loud. And they
Mhm.
didn't suit me anymore. And they don't,
Mhm.
certainly, very rarely do they serve me. Now, we need to say, though, please, Gerald, to be a hard ass, there are times for that.
Yes.
There are times when you don't take prisoners, when you go in there with everything and you get very focused on what you have to do, where there are no emotions and you become calm, sometimes ice cold. I had that recently, maybe a year ago. The old this particular old Stefan came back out to play, and he scared me because
Wow.
I became devoid of any emotions. It
Mhm.
was completely, there was a clarity in my thinking. This was, I mean, like an ice cold winter day. There was no emotion in me. There was the sun shining, gave me a bit of
Mhm.
clarity, but oh boy. And this
Mhm.
particular Stefan would have very happily taken a life if it, if circumstances demanded,
Mhm.
would have done whatever was needed to
Mhm.
survive.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
it's interesting. So yes, there is this extreme
Yes.
version, which we need.
Yes.
Sometimes there are times in our lives where we need to get that person out of the dungeon,
Mhm.
take the shackles off, and say, "Okay, come on,
Mhm.
just you go for it." Um, most of the times, if I let this person run wild, far out, this wouldn't be a good life. Okay,
So
so
I do have a question about that, though.
shoot,
What you were describing sometimes is something that I feel on occasion when I am, training in martial arts. So do you think when you got into that place that you call the old Stefan, Do you think that was part of your martial arts training? Because, I'll never forget the first time I actually saw my sensei really turn into almost like the eyes of a snake. And it was so funny. It was something about me. I had told him a story, and you could tell he was very upset, but you couldn't see it in his face. He was just so cold, and he was asking me these questions. They were very concise, very clipped, very to the point. And I looked at him, and it was like, whoa, his eyes had changed color. I mean, he has hazel eyes. And when I looked at him, his eyes actually got a very dark, almost black. And, he was obviously, it's a long story. I can tell you more some other day, but it was like, oh my goodness, that really, I could tell. I had enough sensitivity to know that he was furious. And one of our fellow students said to me one time, oh, Sensei never gets mad. And I said, oh, yes, he does. You just don't know it because you can't see the signs. But anytime his eyes changed colors, I knew. I mean, there was nothing in his expression, nothing else. It was just his eyes changed colors.
And some of us get the curse or the privilege, however you look at it, that we experience that person and that we get to control that person. Many soldiers are put on purpose into that scenario because they can't think nice and cuddly thoughts when they are literally in the enemy trench with someone trying to kill them. So there are certain parts of our society which are training to keep that, and that includes our law enforcement agents. That includes the fire service, anyone in the front lines, in doctors, nurses, etc. We need that person. We need to be able to switch that person on. The problem is many of us learn how to switch it on, but then never learn how to switch it off. And that's why you see again and again, you see soldiers coming home either after deployment and then just completely losing it, or once they get out of the military, they have no idea what to do and how to deal with that person that was unleashed within them.
Right.
And in all fairness, there is something nice about that person. There is something nice because, for example, when you talk to soldiers who have been deployed, they don't think about their mortgage. They don't think about that the baby is crying. They are so focused, and it's such a clarity, such a calmness. That's beautiful. Everything else drops away. And that is actually a freedom from life, so to speak. So there's something positive about that. And therefore, many of us can get hooked on that. You don't want to deal with the boring shit at home, and you don't know how to deal with it. Like me, I was not able to experience my emotions. These were waves of neurochemicals. They were constantly overwhelming me. I couldn't name them. I just wanted to run away from them.
Yeah.
So that was my emotional maturity. And there's so many other men out there, the the alpha males, so to speak, or the alpha females, for that matter, who are in the same exactly what are you talking about? Who are exactly in the same boat.
Yeah.
So it is very complex what happens within us, and there are certain kind of people within us, like nearly schizophrenia or like multiple personality disorder. There are certain people in us, we need them, but you need to be able to move from one to the other, and you need to have the moral compass to know when is it time to be which person. And many of us are not able to do that.
That is what we would refer to. I'm also a Feldenkrais practitioner. I don't know if you've heard of that or are familiar with it, but we would call that a highly organized nervous system. Because you can. Go ahead.
Sorry, I know very little about it. So maybe teach me and your listeners about this highly organized system.
Well, the modality that I studied and got trained in was called Feldenkrais. And it just works, of course, on the power of neuroplasticity. which for the listeners, it just means that, our nervous system is able to change our patterns, our habits, and just reestablish like new pathways or whatever of moving, sensing, feeling, thinking during the entire course of our lifetime. Now, crazy, when I was in physical therapy school, and it wasn't really that long ago, it was about 26 years ago, we were taught, it was my second career, so I was an older student, but we were taught that this miracle of neuroplasticity actually disappeared at the age of 14. That isn't it crazy that our brains were so hardwired? And I'm sitting there going, at that point, I was just a dumb, recovering respiratory therapist scratching my head going, that doesn't make any sense. Because if you've got a pulse and if you've got neurons firing, certainly you can access new pathways. So basically, that's what the entire method is based on, the power of neuroplasticity. And we access the nervous system through movement. And that's how we can impact and affect change. Now, the thing that is really interesting, I think you will find, with this Feldenkrais method, the gentleman who developed it, his name was Feldenkrais, Moshe Feldenkrais, hence the name. He was actually a martial artist. He was a judo expert. He was the first black belt, or the first non-Asian black belt, to ever achieve a black belt in judo. And he did study with the man who created or developed judo. So it's a fascinating story.
See, the martial arts are interweaving everywhere, because it's such a beautiful way of enriching the life.
Yes, and Moshe did an excellent job of weaving the principles of martial arts and even some of the movement patterns and the idea of principle of survival through this gentle method. And at first it was like, I don't see any martial arts in this. And then finally got the head smacking moment. Yes. Yeah. Takes a while to figure that out.
And it's beautiful because we see the same thing, a resurgence now from a different angle, because we see trauma-focused yoga. So where we realize that emotions, the issues lie in the tissues. So therefore, where so much of chronic pain and so much of our body dysfunctions can be addressed through movement. So here we're coming full circle. We are just dressing it up now in different words with different ideas surrounding it. Yet the movements are the same. Yet the principles are the same. So it's beautiful, and it only shows us as humans that there are many different ways to approach becoming a better human. And if one belief system works for you, let's say Tai Chi, or something like that, or you don't want martial arts, you don't like violence, okay, you go for trauma-related yoga. That's cool. It's the same stuff. You still learn how to switch on the parasympathetic nervous system. You still get insights in how you actually work, and you give your body and your soul time to experience it. You press the pause button, and suddenly your body focuses maybe on that trauma. It gives you solutions to problems that were plaguing you. It's beautiful. So,
and what I think is so wonderful is there are so many different techniques out there that you can use, like you said. I mean, we have, when 30 years ago, I went through a trauma, and we didn't have as many of these modalities, or maybe they were there, but they just weren't mainstream. But there's so many things to pick from and to choose from. And, we're all different. And what appeals to one person or resonates with them will not resonate with another person. But there's so many wonderful, gentle movements and gentle modalities out there.
So true. So true. Goodness, we digressed a little bit here.
We really did. So what I really want to know is, let's get back on track to your story and talking about, when did you realize that you had a problem? You're a physician, so you're in a position highly respected. And so what was it like to, dare I say the word, come out? with your addiction?
Uh, um, that's that's a core question, yet there is not an easy answer there, because
Mhm.
ultimately denial is part and parcel of the disease process.
Yeah.
So I like 95% of other alcoholics, I could swear on my heart, no, there's nothing wrong with me. Look at
Mhm.
him over there. No, he is an alcoholic. And I became very good in picking that out. I saw people. I could diagnose a depression from a mile away, PTSD from a mile away. Honestly, I
Mhm.
could see everything in everyone else. In me, I had a complete blockage where I didn't want to see that. Part of me knew exactly that I was drinking too much. Part of me knew exactly that I was in a deep, dark hole of depression. Um, I was hurting, and my
Mhm.
main response was anger and resentment. So that is pretty much for 20 years. That
Yeah.
was me. I was quite a hothead. Um, I could, at times when I could compartmentalize everything at work, for example, I was a very different man. But the
Mhm.
moment you took me out of work, not so nice, I guess. So it was very strange times, I must say. It was a schizophrenic time, because I was broken. And it became clear to me. I remember I did once a lecture um, to nursing students, and I
Mhm.
wanted to talk about pain medicine. That was my field at that time.
Mhm.
And there was this whole room of idealistic, young, mainly women, but also some men in there wanting to be good nurses. And the only thing I could say, you poor buggers. You're going to be worked to the ground. You're going to be treated like shit. If you go into ED, your chance of being assaulted is 95% within a month.
Oh
Um,
God.
your system will treat you like they will abuse you and then spit you out when you're burned out. That was all I could think about it. And I was giving them a show. I was giving them the cool teacher. But when I walked out, I thought, "You bloody liar," to myself, and I went home and
Mhm.
had bought 2 bottles of wine. That was how I felt about my profession. About I was quite disillusioned to a certain degree.
Mhm.
I was a high functioning alcoholic, defined as I kept my job. I never got into problems with the police. I always, even in my most drunken state, I always had a high respect for the law enforcement agencies.
Mhm.
So my anger did not go there. My anger did not translate into physical violence
Mhm.
towards either my children or my wife or anyone else. But there are plenty of holes in my wall that I did. So yes, it needed
Mhm.
quite some renovation once I got got sober. But
So
that's the anger, that's the resentment, that is just
I would
just
I want to ask another question about the anger,
truth.
because were you also angry at yourself?
Of course, of course,
Mhm.
because I was a failure. In my
Mhm.
eyes, I was the biggest failure that walked the earth. Um, the way I with all the self-help books, you do to-do lists. That is what you do. So my to-do lists would cover, pages, and I would barely be able. I mean, Superman would barely be able to tick off 10
Mhm.
of my tasks, and I could barely do 3. Yet there were all these other tasks that I didn't do. See,
Mhm.
proof I'm a failure,
Oh.
and so on it went. The shame and guilt. I
Mhm.
knew I was drinking too much. I
Mhm.
knew that I was not doing enough sport. I was gaining weight. It was all those things proved to me on a daily, on a minute by minute basis that I was a failure. And that made me angry and
Mhm.
resentful. Did I take ownership? No, not
Mhm.
until I went into rehab. I was
Mhm.
always focusing on everyone else just as much as I had focused in my life on everyone else.
Mhm.
Everyone else came first. Essentially, I
Mhm.
was a people pleaser. Okay.
Mhm.
Yet I was then getting really pissed off when I was running out of emotional empathy, when I was basically worn out, tired, sick and tired. Um, and that made me angry. So it was a
Mhm.
very, very bizarre life that I left,
Mhm.
that I led. And I, oh boy, it just makes me shiver with unease when I now think about the intentionality,
Mhm.
the way that I live with intention
Mhm.
nowadays. Nowadays, I enjoy this moment right
Mhm.
now. I was never living in the moment then. I was always worrying about the future or, oh God, the past. Oh God. At 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning, I would wake up and the worst of Stephan, the film reel,
Yeah.
everything that I ever done wrong,
Mm.
would play without fail. And that was
Mhm.
my life. And guess what? Alcohol numbed that. Oh,
Mhm.
surprise, surprise.
Mhm.
Of course, I went to the bottle again.
It is the power of self-loathing
Mm,
is just so strong. It's
mm,
so damaging, and it's so hard to get away from.
mm. But we are
And
so good in it.
oh,
We
we're
are
so
we
good.
talk to we talk to ourselves in ways that we
Mhm.
wouldn't talk to our worst enemy.
Oh, I know.
And absolutely, and we are it's crazy. It's crazy. And I still catch myself. And I guess
Mhm.
nowadays that's where practices of gratitude come in
Mhm.
so handy. So sometimes I wake up in a foul mood and I drive to
Mhm.
work and I just want to rip someone's head off. And then I one of my mentors introduced me to the gratitude minute. And
Mhm.
okay, I'm happy and grateful that. And sometimes I'm standing there and saying it out loud in the car. I'm happy and grateful. I don't want to be happy and grateful. But somehow my mind then switches on. Okay, I'm happy and grateful that I actually can drive to work because A, I've got money to fill the car with
Oh.
petrol. I've got a car. I've got a job. Right now is actually there are no bombs raining down because I'm sitting in the Ukraine,
Mhm.
and things like that. So by the time my mouth actually formulates all those kind of things, typically
Mhm.
I've reached work and okay, maybe just maybe my perception of was maybe a little bit wrong. So the power of gratitude is
Mhm.
something that is a wonderful thing. So you can counterbalance the
Mhm.
you can take action steps
Mhm.
to change your life. We have got a privilege of choice and you can live in a pity party.
Mhm.
Sometimes I do. Sometimes I wallow in the mud. Okay,
Mhm.
that's cool. And sometimes I say, no, actually, no. Okay, right. Yes, you're still driving like a dick, but it's okay. Forget about it. So I can park the anger and resentment at times.
Mhm.
I can do the gratitude. And when I come to work, I'm actually the guy that I enjoy most, the
Mhm.
guy who can love about himself, the guy who can love about others, who can be a functional and effective team leader, the guy who puts a smile on other people's faces
Mhm.
in the face of challenges.
Mhm.
That's the guy who I like. That guy was non-existent for most
So
of
I
the
like
time.
I love the way that you said you can take these little steps, to make yourself a better person or have a better life. And it
Mm.
doesn't have to be that big long list of 21 things that you were talking about earlier, right? It doesn't have to be this huge long laundry list of things that you can do. Baby steps, baby steps.
Absolutely.
And so the
But do
one
them.
is go ahead.
Do just tiny little baby steps.
Yeah.
And you guys are doing it right now because you're listening to this podcast or
Mhm.
watching this YouTube channel. So
Mhm.
congratulations, you have taken action. So
Mhm.
here you go. It's not so difficult, is it?
Right. So you just gave us two. One is gratitude, even if you're going, oh yeah, I'm really happy about this. Yeah, but you're still saying it. So your brain is taking in that message. And then of course, listening to shows like this and give us like maybe just one or two other tiny little steps that we can add to our list of baby steps. So it's just a short list.
Mm,
It's not that big, long 21 step list.
no,
Nope.
it is. You have got choices. And every life is different. So you will have challenges that are bothering you, or there are things that maybe are just which make you cringe. Well, you have good choices about those things.
Mhm.
Most of us are running away from it. Hey,
Mhm.
I admit I'm the fastest runner here.
Mhm.
But there are times um, when I just say, yes, I so don't want to do the invoices because My relationship with money is maybe a bit broken. I always feel
Mhm.
guilty that I invoice someone. And I said, no,
Oh.
right now I'm invoicing. Out you
Mhm.
go. And every time I press the send button on the email, I get a bit of anxiety pang coming through. But I just do it. I just do it.
Mhm.
It needs done. And I am worth it. I have
Mhm.
given a good service. For that,
Mhm.
someone has to pay. So here's my
Mhm.
invoice. Bang. So jumping over your shadow and
Mhm.
stopping the procrastination and do that little thing that you didn't want to do. Do
Mhm.
that one phone call
Mhm.
that you were pushing away. Just do it. Just dial that
Mhm.
number. And guess what? All the worries and the thoughts and oh my God, the world will stop if I talk to this person. Guess what? The world keeps turning, and
Mhm.
you might find that all the pain that you imagined, what would happen if you do that step, turns out to be
Mhm.
nothing. And that
Mhm.
is my experience most of the time. You just said it yourself. You this morning you didn't want to, or today you didn't want to go into the dojo. You
Mhm.
felt not right, but you did, and you
Mhm.
did it. Made you feel good.
Mhm.
It worked off some of the anger, some of the resentment. Your
Mhm.
body got loaded with oxygen.
Mhm.
Your parasympathetic nervous system jumped in, and the sympathetic calmed down. How
Mhm.
beautiful is that? So you
Mhm.
changed your state, and that is a very powerful thing. So
Mhm.
by just, I mean, 80% of success is just showing up.
Mhm.
80% of success is you doing that one phone call, that
Mhm.
one email, that one thing that you were pushing up. So
Mhm.
just do it. And it's just do one thing that you were pushing away for a while. That's beautiful. Not shitloads of them, just one,
Mhm.
and then celebrate. The
I
second thing
have
is
to
we
I
don't
have to
celebrate.
I have to tell you that yes, I did alter my state by going to the dojo, and I kicked some butt at the same time too. So that was just
Literally.
like, and literally that was just an added bonus. So, and I love because you said you just have to show up.
Mm.
And, today I had some issues about even, my calendar and what was on my calendar and what wasn't. And I thought, oh my gosh, do I really have this podcast interview? Who's it with? I don't know. And it's at this time. And I'm like, okay, what do I do? Well, maybe this isn't, I wasn't even going to show up. And it's like, wait a minute. It's there for a reason. If no one shows up, that's fine. But I am not going to be the one to not show up. I will sit down here in my girl cave. I will hit that button. And it was like, oh, look, there really is somebody there. It's Stephan. What a wonderful surprise. I mean, this was like, it was almost like Christmas in August. It was like, wow, I get to talk to him. I didn't think I was going to be talking to him for a couple more weeks.
Are you calling me Santa Claus? Hey, come on. This is
Mm.
not so bad.
No, you
No,
don't have
you're
the
right.
beard.
Oh, that's true. I had actually, but
Mm.
no, you're so right. Showing up gives you
Mhm.
so many opportunities that life um throws you constantly.
Mhm.
Life gives you opportunities at every one corner. It gives you the privilege of choice.
Mhm.
You have got the same amount of seconds in a day as someone
Mhm.
like Richard Branson, or take
Mhm.
any people like the Tony Robbins,
Mhm.
any out of the big people that where you think, wow, they got their shit together. Well,
Mhm.
guess what? They've got the same amount of seconds.
Mhm.
Oh, but I come from poor circumstances. Well, guess what? Me too.
Mhm.
Oh, but I've gone through so much trauma. Sorry, man. So, if this is a pissing contest, it's likely that I will win. Okay, I win that. Likely,
Oh.
but having said that, trauma comes in all kind of shapes and
Mhm.
forms, and is this trauma is should not be a contest.
Mhm.
Even things that maybe mean very little for me could be
Mhm.
hugely traumatic for you.
Mhm.
So therefore, let's recognize that from the word go. So I don't want to belittle anyone. I
Mhm.
just want to say, whatever you've gone through, that was the past. The
Mhm.
past does not equal the future.
Mhm.
You are here to leave a legacy. You are here to live your life to the fullest.
Mhm.
Now, you maybe have not recognized that yet because you're so
Mhm.
deep in the darkness that you
Mhm.
just can't see any direction, can't
Mhm.
see any light. But that's exactly what Cheryl is here for, to give you on that platform, to give you actually access to people, to the guests who are coming onto her show, to show you they have gone through hell and back, but they kept going, and they have transformed their lives. So maybe if these idiots there on the show can do that, well, maybe there's still hope for you too. And guess what? There is. Trust me, there is.
So let's take this to segue into your podcast, because you have a fantastic show. As I said, I have stalked you a bit online. So tell us about your podcast.
Well, my podcast was initially I started it off with just me sharing some thoughts and so little snippets of things, and it was quite okay, and it was fun to do, but something was missing. And then I thought, why don't I interview people? And I interviewed a friend to start off with, and I was an awful host. It's just I had no idea what I was doing. I know it's we're all starting off, and it's just you get, oh my God. And then it's a steep learning curve. And I
Yes,
got
it
hooked.
is. I think we ought to have some kind of a little forum or a get together of podcasters so we can talk about some of the things that, the stupid things. I mean, I didn't even know what a podcast was
Well,
or
exactly.
why. Yes, exactly. And then you get sucked into it and it's like, oh my God, a minute now, what do I do?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I need to make a list of some of the things that I did that are just so incredibly stupid and funny. But I actually one time had to show up. I showed up now, Stephan. Okay, this is very
Exactly.
important. I showed up, but I
Exactly.
showed up in my bathrobe
Oh,
because
that's cool.
yes, this was at the beginning, early on in the pandemic when I first finally, okay, now I can use Zoom. Now I can do, remotes. Now I can interview people not only all over the country, but oh my gosh, even internationally. And I was going to interview a woman in Germany, and I thought that, I had the time change right. I didn't. I'm sitting in my kitchen having my coffee. My hair is, in a ponytail, no makeup, no nothing. And I'm looking at the clock going, hey, got another 2 hours. And I get a message. I'm in the waiting room. And I thought, okay, major panic attack. And then I thought, I have two ways of dealing with this. I could say, hey, I'm so sorry. I screwed up on the time. Can we reschedule? And I thought, that's not very professional. Or I could just show up like I am, not very professional either, but at least I'll show up, but to be respectful of her time. So I come down to the girl cave and I'm setting everything up, going, I'll be right there. And when I signed on and I admitted her into the, into the show, I said, okay, before I turn on my camera, I just need you to know something. I'm wearing my bathrobe. And she bust out laughing. And I said, but don't worry about it because I am wearing pants because it was winter. So I had my sweatpants on under. So yeah, starting a podcast is a trip. So tell me yours was smoother than that.
Oh, it was not. It was, I made the same mistakes and I had no idea. So we all start with something. But bottom line is, I very quickly realized what a huge gift it was for me to talk to other people who have gone through so much darkness. And so I initially looked at internet discussion groups, etc., and thought, oh, this person has got an interesting story, so I bring this person on. But very quickly I realized that stories are not just there from, how should I say that? Yes, you can find people who already are on the speaking circuit, so to speak, but also I love reading books. So I'm a speed reader, so I read 1 or 2 books a week, and they are fantastic books. So I thought, well, wow, that is a good book. I get in touch with the author, find out the author via LinkedIn, and say, hey, I want you on my show, and they say, okay, I'm coming. And so I had the most beautiful discussions. Now I've got a strong feeling for history. I find it is our duty that we remember the lessons from the past so that we don't make the same mistakes again. So I went out there on purpose and got in touch with concentration camp survivors from the Second World
Wow.
War and had them on my show. I would get in touch with peak soldiers who are reading leadership or writing leadership books and got them on my show, something like that. So I've lost all inhibitions when it comes to getting in touch with people, and in turn, what they give me, what I receive from that is so powerful. I get what I do 4 shows or so thereabouts a week. I get 4 hours of therapy
Wow.
from these people. I mean,
Mhm.
who am I to say no to that? I can't. I can't. Me right now being here and actually talking serves so many purposes. First of all, it gives me a win. I've already achieved something today, which I can be proud of. B, my voice, my brain subconsciously will formulate something and words are coming out. And my ears are hearing these words and thinking, huh, I had not thought about it this way.
Mhm.
And it's beautiful. So I'm getting to reevaluate certain choices I've made in the past, certain experiences.
Mhm.
I get kind of therapy there,
Mhm.
happening just within me talking about my experiences. So it's
Mhm.
beautiful. And these are just some of the easy hanging fruit that immediately come to my mind. There are
Mhm.
many other advantages. So it is a beautiful journey when you actually come out of the shadows and start opening up, because you realize that there are so many other people out there who were equally plagued by the evil twins of shame and guilt.
Mhm.
And they were hiding in their own
Mhm.
shadows, thinking that there is no hope, no help. And it's a
Mhm.
bullshit lie. That's what
Mhm.
depression, anxiety, PTSD, addiction, these are all big fat liars. They tell you there's no hope. Bullshit. There is heaps
Mhm.
of hope out there. But you need to maybe find your own tribe. Maybe people who have gone through similar traumas as you have, so
Mhm.
that you can bond with them, who are now further down the path
Mhm.
as you. So once you find these people, then you suddenly realize, wow, they have been just as much abused as a child as I have.
Mhm.
Damn. It's that kind of realization. Wow, it's not just me. It's
Mhm.
not just I'm alone in all that. No,
Mhm.
there are so many people out there who have gone through similar things as you, and find this tribe and listen to them. See, just listen to what they are doing. Like that was the old AA meetings. This was where alcoholics came together. If you now see the beautiful development of the internet with regards to Zoom and the pandemic, the fact that
Mhm.
more and more groups are out there, you can find you can find people, you can find your tribe, and you don't
Mhm.
even have to look so hard. And that is so powerful. And suddenly you create relationships with people who you otherwise would have never met. But these relationships can become the best friendships, because you both have gone through the same darkness.
Mhm.
You were both in the same hellhole, and that is a stronger bond than you might have with some of your family members. And that
Absolutely.
is
Yeah.
and that is so powerful. So
Mhm.
therefore, guys, there is hope. The past does not equal the future. And it's a matter of you trying to figure out, who do you want to be when you grow
Mhm.
up? And I don't care if you're 17 or 70. You
Mhm.
have gone through your own unique set of traumas, set of life circumstances. And that was the past. So that has left you with scars. That's okay. These are battle scars. But
Mhm.
the trauma doesn't define you. The
Mhm.
trauma gives you the power to move forward. It's the driving force for you to get away from that trauma, which is cool. Just
Mhm.
don't maybe do the cocaine or the drugs or the sex or the eating disorder or
Mhm.
the gambling, that to try to numb that pain. Use
Mhm.
that pain as a driving force and say, okay, I never want that to happen again.
Mhm.
So what do I want to happen?
Mhm.
And therefore you suddenly you change from a victim to a survivor. And
Mhm.
now if you actually take action steps towards a goal, that makes you a thriver. Or in other
Mhm.
words, you had been in the darkness, then you
Mhm.
started to have a dream. You actually made this dream crystal clear, so it became a vision. And now
Mhm.
you take action. and it becomes a mission.
Mhm.
And that is powerful. That is where the power comes. That is where life becomes beautiful, because it
Mhm.
becomes intentional. Everything I do nowadays, I do it on purpose. So if I say I really feel like crap because I've worked the whole week, I've worked my guts out, then I have absolutely no problems to eat maybe not so healthy, watch telly the whole day, and don't have a guilt trip about it, because
Mhm.
I know this is now me giving myself this blah
Mhm.
moment. Or probably afterwards, after this interview, I probably will be full of adrenaline. And we have talked about martial arts, so I go down there, do some stick fighting, and actually do some cool workout, because I've got this adrenaline. I've got this. So I take action. I do some other things. So,
Mhm.
but I do everything with intention.
Mhm.
And I feel what I feel. What do I feel right now? I feel a buzz from talking to you. I feel a buzz from my caffeine. Okay, give you that.
Mhm.
I also feel a bit hungry. So
Mhm.
later on, I will eat something, and I will actually say, no, today I want to treat myself. I want to eat something healthy,
Mhm.
something that really nourishes my body.
Mhm.
So I take action steps, but I've thought about it, and I take them rather than let them happen
Mhm.
somehow. I'll take an intentional step forward, because I want to be that human there. I want to be
Mhm.
that human. And that is a privilege. That is a joy. And I love that. That is the new me.
And as you talk about these action steps, they are, again, not huge. They're just
Mm-mm.
simple, little, small action steps. And they really do add up. They
Mm.
accumulate.
Mm.
You get a cumulative
Compound
effect.
compound interest. Okay. That is how you
That's a good
make
way.
money.
Yeah.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
it's the same there. There's the
Mhm.
principle of the 5-minute gardener. If you
Mm.
every day go 5 minutes into your garden, never more, never less, but 5 minutes. And after a week, you can see a difference. After
Mhm.
a month, other people see a difference. After
Mhm.
3 months, you probably can't eat all the veggies that you have started to produce.
Mhm.
And that's only 5 minutes a day, never more, never less.
Mhm.
Imagine you do the same principle in your relationship. So you from now on invest 5 minutes every day into the relationship with your
Mhm.
significant other, or with your child, where you maybe struggled in a relationship. So instead of running away and numbing yourself, you actually
Mhm.
do 5 minutes on purpose. Can you imagine that after a week, things will be a
Mm.
bit different? Or
Mhm.
after a month and 3 months? That's what intentional living is. It's not going nuts, but it's the
Mhm.
5-minute gardener, but applied to yourself, to relationships, to your career, to your money, your whatever it is, whatever you have
Mhm.
been avoiding. Just
Mhm.
5 minutes. That's all I ask you to do.
Awesome. Okay, that is great advice. Now I want to talk about your book. So
Yoo-hoo!
first of all, let's go back to your podcast. So when did you start your podcast? And how long have you?
2.5 years ago, something like that.
Okay. Yep.
So we're now at interview 302 or something like that.
Oh.
Yeah, exactly. So I had an amazing run with guests, and I'm, as I said, yeah, it's getting more focused. It's
Mhm.
getting more interesting. As I said, I've got less hesitations, no inhibitions,
Yeah.
and if I think about something, I'll take it. So that's cool. So I'm broadcasting 2 shows a week, and in addition to that, little videos there, here and there. So
Mhm.
it's certainly a beautiful resource for people.
Mhm.
My Steps to Sobriety is the name of my show, is the name of my book, is
Mhm.
the name of my podcast. So I've tried to keep it simple for you guys.
Mhm.
Steps to Sobriety, or My Steps to Sobriety. This is my
Love
book.
it.
You had it. You had it. No, you've got it both. Let's see. Oh, nicely framed. My
Good
Steps to
job.
Sobriety. I talk about dexterity there. It is. This is actually a book that has grown, because My
Mhm.
Steps to Sobriety, initially it was a kind of telling my story, and it
Mhm.
was quite a dark book, the first version, which is
Mhm.
now there behind me. That was the first version, and it was dark. I then rewrote it because ultimately I realized that people have got their own darkness, have got their own mess. They don't really want to know so much about a mess. They want to know how to get out of it, and then how to live a life that is gorgeous. So this particular book is specifically where it gives you a bit of my story, but I then go through the steps that I've taken to get clean. And that was the 12 steps. But I'm describing them in the book not as the kind of religious 12-step thing, but more as a failed business. If you and your friend are both in the same genre, I want to say, have the same job. Let's say you both have a restaurant, and your restaurant is always buzzing, and his restaurant, there's 1 or 2 people sitting in there at night. And he one day comes to you and say, "Hey, look, I mean, I don't know why, I don't know what is going on. Can you help me?" And you would say, "Yeah, of course." So what would you do? You probably would come across, would probably sit down, order a few things off the menu, observe the staff, observe the decor, observe the menu, taste the menu. You would then probably go behind the scenes with your friend, check out how he does things, then try to figure out what works, what doesn't work. Maybe there's some things on a menu you can cull which don't serve you anymore, or no one buys them. Therefore, you can probably streamline your kitchen. You've got less wastage there, and you can probably find a few things where you can do an improved workflow that makes it easier. So you improve the whole thing, then you test things out, and you probably at some stage you will get better, and you probably want to make some amends. You probably will go to your typical clientele, the typical people that came to you. You might have an email list. You might say, "Hey guys, still same management, but new vibe, new ideas, and we lost our way a little bit, and we do apologize for that. So come back, taste our new menu, and for your loyalty, we'll give you 30% off your dinner bill." So you're making amends to people. You then do a quality assurance program because things are picking up, things work. You continuously see what works, what doesn't. Jettison those things that maybe we tried, it didn't work, and so on. So quality assurance, and down the line, both of your restaurants are busy as, and the your friend really thinks, "Wow, what a journey," and he says, "Wow, I got so much out of that journey of improving my business, and I remember my struggles. Why don't I create a discussion forum or meet every Monday night when we are closed here, only for other restaurateurs, where we can actually chat and have a debrief and be there for each other?" What I've just described to you are logical things as far as you're concerned. That's what you would do. I've also described the 12-step program. That's exactly what it was. And that was what I had the privilege of being introduced to. And that changed my life. That allowed me to get sober. Now I'm sober, so what? Because that's only the start. You stop drinking, great. You stop running away from your emotions. The trauma is still there, depression is still there, anxiety is still there, and more trauma will come. And that's exactly what this book is about. So bottom line is, yes, there is My Steps to Sobriety teaches you about the 12 steps and guides you towards going through them. But then thereafter, life continues. So the second or the last third of the book is really introduction to shit that happens. You know your chance of getting depression is 1 in 3. So why not learn a bit about it? Why not learn how to pick it up? You know you will have toxic people in your life. This could be in your private life, or it could be at work. Well, how do you deal with a toxic person? There will be money problems. Well, how can you think about that? How can you prevent that? Those kind of things. If you actually, just as much as you know that when you're driving a car, you probably need to change the tire once or twice in your life. So you might have a spare tire, number one, and you know how to change it. Well, why not do that with your life as well? So that's where this book comes into its own. So it's for those people who are only just starting their sobriety, or even thinking, well, how do I go about it? It's when you're at that stage in your life, that is the aim of this book, to help you to get through maybe the first steps into sobriety and maybe the first year. That was the intention of this book, and I love it because it has already helped quite a few people, and I hope that maybe you guys equally get benefit from it and get insights from it. So there is a life waiting out there for you, but many of you can't see it yet. And that's the reason you're listening to this show. So please let me assure you, there is hope, there is help, and it's just a matter of trying to find your right team of people that are further down the path than you are, so that you don't have to learn the lessons the hard way and do every single step the hard way, but maybe get guided. Okay, well, what's the next step? What should I focus on now in all this chaos? And that's beautiful.
So, Stephan, do you coach people?
No.
Okay.
I'm too much an empath. I take on, that was my problem as a pain physician. I took on all the problems there. I was fighting for every single patient. And so therefore no, I don't do coaching myself, but I see myself more as the light in the darkness of others. I want to be the person who can tell you, actually, there are ways forward. And your particular set of traumas, have a look at this and this show. So if you go back on my guests, it's very, very, very likely that you will find someone that you gel, that you find someone who is actually who is there. We all are evolving. I'm certainly working on some courses that I'm creating for people to actually work with me, at least in a virtual way, not in a one-on-one way.
Right.
And that I guide them through certain steps, certain tasks. So that is in the making. I'm currently working on 2 books where I bring female and male storytellers together who share their impressions or their experiences with depression. So that is something that is happening at the moment. So there's always have a number of projects going, and it won't stop anytime soon. So check me out. If you guys want to know more about what I do, go to mystepstosobriety.com. mystepstosobriety, all one word.com, which is my website, where you find more news about my show, how to become maybe a guest if you're interested, what are the books that I have already published and that are coming out. So there's a whole range of things out there. Just as much as trauma comes in layers, healing comes in layers. And maybe as a reflection, also my activities come in a number of layers. Whilst I'm telling the message of sobriety, I strongly believe that it is so much nicer if we could actually, from the word go, get young children more mindful, let them experience a life where they learn about their emotions. So I'm just looking around. I haven't got a copy on me, so I need to point towards it here. This little green thing there in the back, that is Esme, the Mindful Mouse. That's my first children's book I've written. So
you
to
wrote
actually
that?
Yeah. We did that with another author, Belinda Manna, and me. We created that children's book, and it's all about little Esme, the mindful mouse. It was very vivacious, but in her bouncy way, often enough, angers her best friends because she doesn't pay attention, and they're angry, and she thinks, "Oh my God, am I a bad mouse, or?" Uh, or is it maybe just that I've done something that other people are angry about? And that difference between being bad and doing something silly is a big, big difference that children need to learn. So no, we still love you, even if you break a cup or a glass or something like that. The love will never go away. But maybe you just need to be a bit careful. Otherwise, we don't have any cutlery left. I mean, those kind of things. So that's the mindfulness. If we start that early with children, maybe we can prevent them being broken adults later. So that's where I work on a number of bases, and I love it.
Oh, that's
So
awesome. That
Yeah,
is
life is
awesome.
good.
I love that. I love that story. I think that's awesome. Now, okay, because you have drawn my attention to your right shoulder and what's above it, I'm looking at the two little skeletons, or are they little aliens?
These are
What are those?
aliens. These are
Oops.
aliens.
Okay.
No,
They're small.
they are small. They're very small. No, the reality is, normal people scare me. Okay, I am an eccentric as far as that goes. So there are not many sharp-edged weapons that are not in my household, like you. I'm
Uh-huh.
more into that. I'm the zombie killing kind of genre. Okay, that is me in a nutshell, and that also is reflected in my hobbies, like let's say the photography.
Oh, okay.
I love photography and filming. And so, but my pictures are typically more dark and more things. So Halloween is my time when I go out, and that is just me. So therefore, there are little dwarfs there because, after all, I'm German. So there
Mm-hmm.
needs to be little dwarfs somewhere there. Der
Mm-hmm.
Gartenzwerg. But these dwarfs, of course, do naughty things. So it's good that you can't see too much of them.
Oh,
And the aliens there equally, they are just having a good time and just say, shh, hey, we are here on this earth. That's
mm-hmm.
just shut up.
Uh-huh.
So basically, this is my quirky side. This is my admission that I have got a nerdy side, and I cultivate that side because that makes me me. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
there's this. You see, I'm not wearing a shirt and tie and proper.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm sorry,
Mm-hmm.
guys. No,
Yeah.
I don't do. I do shirt,
Yeah,
unless
I'm
it's.
glad you have a shirt on.
I was about to say, unless of course it's Naked Gardener Day, then that changes mildly. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I tried to convince my wife, but she doesn't buy into it. So bottom line is, I try to live my life and being authentic and being
Mhm,
me and
mhm,
finding my own group of nerdy people that feed my soul.
mhm,
So I'm often doing, once a year I do an exhibition, a photo exhibition here in
mhm,
Rotorua, and we focus on different things, and it is
mhm,
fun. It is cool. Our photo shoots are just amazing and can be anything. So it
mhm,
is I love it. A creative. So I try to nourish my soul. I try to feed my soul. Try to go out there. And again, I encourage you all to find that nerd in you,
mhm.
that and be unapologetically nerdy. Let it be, if you want to be a Star Trek Trekkie, that's absolutely fine. If you want to be the woman who does everything knitting, you're knitting condoms, good, just don't rely on them. Just say, okay, that's fine with me. Be nerdy, go out there, live your life to the fullest, because it's your life. Don't
Okay, so
live the life of someone else.
I wrote this down, embrace your inner nerd.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
I love the fact that you said knitting, because I haven't knitted now. It's been, I think, 11 years, but I am a master knitter. And I am, honestly, I really am. I can say that. I am a master knitter. I look at some of the things that I have knitted over the years, and they are absolutely incredible. And there was nothing more I would enjoy than, sitting, because to me, it was like guilt-free sitting on my ass. And I would sit on my butt, watching TV. But as I was doing it, I was knitting. And so I was relaxing. I was having, time with my husband, watching TV, and I was creating something beautiful with my hands. I really need to pick it back up again.
Well, I tried that. I was going at one stage. I was going to a girls' school. I had finished year 10, and in order to go further, I needed to do another 3 years. And they were essentially, either go to a boys' school, learn mechanical things, or I go to a girls' school where they actually learned cooking, but also biology, chemistry, etc. Things that were handy for me
Mhm.
as a doctor. So 9 boys, 900 girls. So I had
Oh, that was a good
compulsory,
decision. Good decision.
but I learned to knit. So, and I remember my knitting there, but I was watching some really exciting thing, and I was doing a shawl. I was knitting and I was knitting, and there was more and more adrenaline going for me. And the shawl went from there to a point where I could actually not pull the bloody knitting needles out. So turns out I'm not a good knitter.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Well, you're an emotional knitter. That's where you're getting
That's
some of
right.
your
That's
emotions out.
right. But try something. Try it
Yeah.
out, guys. Okay, this is life. This
Mhm.
is maybe you are the knitter, the new male hero knitter. I don't know. Who knows? Give it a shot, guys. Expose yourself to new things, and you might find
Mhm.
a passion that you never knew existed in your life.
And you might even want to try that naked gardening.
Just be careful with the cactus, the roses, and
Oh,
several other
God.
prickly things.
Okay. Woof. On
Yeah,
that note,
exactly. Oh.
I just, okay. So we're going to just embrace our inner nerd. Stephan, this has been such a treat. A surprising treat because I really wasn't expecting it.
And that only proves to us, show up. Just
Show
simply
up.
show up, and you don't
Yeah.
know what happens. It is actually one of the most beautiful interviews, or some of the most beautiful interviews I have done when I just showed up and I was so
Mhm.
not in the mood, like you mentioned before. Some
Mhm.
of the most valuable connections in business I have had when I just showed up and was so not in the mood.
Mhm.
So it's just jumping over your shadow needs to become a skill that you learn. At the
Mhm.
same token, there needs to be times when you give in.
Mhm.
You don't need to turn up to every single event that someone
Mhm.
throws at you.
Mhm.
There is JOMO, the joy of missing out. Okay,
Ooh.
you don't have to be there for everyone and everything, because that's too much people pleasing.
Mhm.
But at the same token, with every single decision, make it intentionally and listen to your body. If your body says, please give me a break, then please listen to it. And if
Mhm.
your body says, well, I mean, what happens if this person says that to you? Then well, actually, come on, let's
Mhm.
go there. And I bet you this person will not say anything to you. Okay,
Mhm.
so those kind of things, make
Mhm.
the right decision for that moment, do it with intention, and live with the consequences. And
Mhm.
one way or the other, that will be a far richer life for you
Mhm.
than just sitting around and let it all happen.
Rather than just existing.
Exactly.
Who wants to do that? Well,
Mhm.
Stephan, thank you so much for being here with me today. I really appreciate it. And I'm just so happy that we connected. Love hearing your story, love your energy. And I love, what was it? Let me see, I have it written down, that you are so passionate about demystifying mental health problems, but helping people live a life so full of joy that yesterday is jealous of today. And I think that says it all. So we said that at the very beginning of the show, and I just wanted to say it again because everything that you have said from that moment to this moment really encapsulates that and just shows that you really you walk the talk and you share it, which is really awesome.
Um, it was an honor for me to be on your show. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you very much for putting this platform up there for others to learn, grow, and become better humans. And who knows, maybe we can make this world a little bit better, one interview at a time.
That's kind of what I'm hoping for. And that's one of my goals. So thank you for being a part of it. And thank you for doing your show and writing that beautiful book. And I am excited. You are going to have me on your show coming up soon.
Yes.
So I'm
Yes.
really excited about that.
And me. So,
Okay.
no, guys, thank you so much, Cheryl. You're a wonderful woman. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, and thank you for being here. I just absolutely love talking to you. And everybody, thank you for listening. I really appreciate it as always. And do check out Stephan's website, his book, his podcast, and I'm sure are all your social media links, are
Mhm.
they available at your podcast?
Absolutely. You're going to find
Okay.
them in the podcast link, no
Okay.
doubt.
And of course, you will always be able to find them with the show notes. So if you can't find Stephan, you're not looking hard
Mm.
enough. So remember to, I'm just going to wrap it up with embrace your inner nerd. And that is the way of the FemiNinja.